Turning it around. Every voice we hear, every soul we find has a spark of truth that can change your mind. It's the reversal, turning it all upside down. The reversal, truth from the lost and found. Hope in the heartbreak, light in the rain. The reversal, you'll never see the same again. The reversal.
Well, welcome back to The Reversal. And each time we have an episode, we sit down with people whose stories challenge and surprise us. We believe that beauty and wisdom can be found in some of the most unexpected places. And the stories of the people that we meet and sit down with flip the script. They challenge our notions and preconceived ideas. And we believe in that there is some real beauty and wisdom and profound truth to be discovered and to be discovered together. And so this week we have a special guest, Robyn Willams, who has been a friend of ours for many, many years. And Robyn has a story that is surprising, and I think it's going to challenge everybody who's watching and listening. Robyn's story starts in affluence and wealth and privilege, but then takes an unexpected turn into hardship and difficulty and challenge. But that's not where the story ends. And today, Robyn is an incredible mother. She's a homeowner. She's somebody who's actually navigated through those difficulties and challenges with grace. And today, her life isn't perfect. I'm sure you'd be the first person to say that, but it is marked with incredible resilience, and there's an incredible part of the story that we want to really dive into around what it has meant for you to encounter hope and meaning and belonging and purpose by looking after others and being hospitable and kind of being a mom to not just your own daughter but to lots of different people. So welcome here.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're excited to have you here.
So let's just jump right in.
Let's do it.
So, Robyn, we've already alluded to the fact that you grew up in a wealthy home when you were little. Why don't you just give us a brief overview of your life?
There was a lot of early trauma, but at the same time, I was in an affluent house that entertained a lot. So there was always alcohol revolving around the social activity. And so because of the trauma, the minute I was old enough, I was in the liquor cabinet. And I was a blackout drinker right from the first time I had a drink.
How old were you?
I was 12. Plus my dad was a doctor, and we had a linen closet size medicine cabinet outside my bedroom door. So I discovered a lot of fun in that. Well, not fun, but a lot of adventures in that medicine cabinet as well. So it was extreme from the very get-go.
And that was from a young age too?
Yeah, 12. It all started at 12. Yeah.
So is that when you would say that addiction came into your world?
It took over my world automatically. There was something about the blackness. I hated myself. I just wanted to disappear. I thought I was a mistake, that there was something wrong with me. And the drugs and alcohol made me black out. But then I'd wake up. And then so I'd just do it again and again and again. And that lasted for 17 years.
So it was the family dynamic that made you feel low self-esteem, not worthy, you didn't belong. Or
my dad was amazing, and he always went out of his way to make sure that I felt wanted and loved. I was adopted. My birth mother had an extremely difficult pregnancy, so there was trauma from that. And then my adopted mother was bipolar, and she committed suicide when I was 7. So I think that everything was stemming around these women in my life that there was something wrong with me, that I didn't have a mother.
And then your dad remarried later.
And then when my dad remarried, I kind of switched my focus from anything that I had been good at, and just focused on these two women. I had a older sister, teenager in grade 12, and this beautiful new stepmother, and like I was just over the moon. It was going to change my world.
Yeah,
and it did.
Tell us a little bit about, like, if you don't mind, what was that like, losing almost, like, essentially what you're saying is you lost two mothers.
Yes.
Before you gained a third one.
Yes.
What now that you look back on your life, like, do you see the roots of that? Did that, what did that do for you?
Now that I have a daughter, and I mean, obviously I still don't have a mother, but I still feel it now. And I realize, like, I'd love to have a mother to go to now. And I'm 61 years old. Like, I can't imagine, like, I wasn't a perfect mother, but like, I was Lily's mom, and I'm the first woman she ever remembers, and she loves me to bits, and I'll never not love her for anything, and I just never knew that, and I never realized I was missing it, but I didn't consciously realize I was missing something, but there was something. I was scared all the time. I was hiding all the time.
You didn't know you had a mother wound.
I didn't know I had a mother wound. No, I didn't.
And so did that new lady in your dad's life, did she fulfill any of that role as a mother for you?
Yes, but it was not a healthy lifestyle for me, because again, there was entertaining, there was alcohol.
So walk us through some of those early teenage years, because you're introduced at 12. By the time you're hitting your teenage years, did things start to accelerate?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I had regular access to pills and alcohol, so that was, and I surrounded myself with people that were doing the same thing. And then when I was 17, I mean, it was tough because it was a small town. Everybody knew who I was, and me and my brother, my adopted brother, were the golden children, and I was the youngest, so I was either so-and-so's daughter or so-and-so's little sister, and they had all done pretty impressive things before I came along. So there was
a bit of pressure on you.
Yeah, there was a lot of pressure, and I just didn't believe there was anything I could do well enough. So I just continued spiraling. And then I left home when I was 17. I moved to the city and worked in hospitality, where there was lots of alcoholics in the 80s.
The reversal. One story, one beat, one change at a time. The reversal. Where the last word is yours every time.
So you have a path. You were born into a wealthy family. You've been married. You've been divorced. You have a child. You have been homeless. And now we're on this beach right across the street from where you now own a home. That's a crazy journey.
Yep.
So if you could say you had one lesson to tell a listener, what would it be?
Oh. Just never give up.
Never give up. Okay.
Like, someone told me that a long time ago, and it's so simple, but so many times, zillions of times I've had to say that. Never give up. Because you want to. It's easier
To give up.
way easier to give up.
You're in addiction. One time you said to me that you experienced a lot of love on the street,
Very much so.
but that it was a warped love. That
Of course.
was the word you used.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
It's just twisted. You're sharing your drugs. You're sharing your tent, you're defending somebody that's getting beat up. There's just a surprising sense of family and community. I know when I was searching for cigarette butts on the ground, if I found a large cigarette butt, the first thing I'd think of was I'd share it with somebody.
Right.
And that's kind of how everybody was. I don't know if it's the same now because the drugs are way, way worse. And
The reversal. One story, one beat, one change at a time. The reversal.
well, then I sobered up finally after 17 years. And it wasn't a good 17 years. It was blackouts and strange people and strange places. And I feel I'm very lucky to be alive. But I finally did get sober when I was 29. And I did get married. But then in my 8th year of sobriety, my dad was diagnosed with cancer and passed away in 10 weeks. And I didn't realize all the mother issues I had at the time, but losing my dad, I just went over the deep end. Yeah.
Yeah, that must be really hard. Were you even in the same city or?
I went home to spend the last 2 months with him. So I was with him. And then I took a job in my hometown away from my husband. And I just slowly spiraled right out of control. I left my husband. I met a really destructive man. And as a result, 3 years later, I was addicted to heroin and homeless on the streets in Kelowna and had lost everything I owned.
Wow, what a journey. And it was at that time then that you got pregnant.
That's when I got pregnant.
You were a mother. Were you homeless when you had your little girl?
I was homeless when I got pregnant. I wasn't able to get off the street right away. I had to, I lied my way into detox just to get inside. And then I did treatment. I was terrified because I had no family. But I reached out to an organization in Kelowna called Now Canada. And they took me in and helped me move forward and give me direction and support.
So, Robyn, do you mind if we talk a little bit about that season of your life? Is that okay?
Yeah.
So, help us and the listener, the viewer, kind of get inside of your world in that time. What was it like to be young and find out that you're pregnant, but you're unhoused and you're vulnerable on the streets? Kind of walk us through, not a day in the life, but maybe kind of like what went through your head? Like, how did you?
I wasn't young. I was 40 years old. So
Okay,
for
sorry.
mothering goes, I wasn't that young. But yeah, I was terrified. I'd never been around my friends' kids as they were growing up. It was always long distance, so I didn't have experience with babies or even children for that matter. So yeah, I was scared, and I didn't know. I didn't have a place to live. I had my van. I knew I was going to have to get a place, but I didn't know what that looked like. And I had been on the street for only a year, and I'd been a homeowner and housed the whole rest of my life. Yet, coming off the street, never mind pregnant, I couldn't function. Like, I didn't know how to take care of a home and budget, or like all that stuff was just totally so foreign to me after just being out there for a year.
But don't you think, Sandy, I think a lot of people would, I think a lot of
Like
people
you-
assume that people who've been unhoused or on the street have, I know this sounds crazy, but have always been there, or that somehow,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like people don't always think through that whole journey. And Robyn, you can speak to this. You know many people who've never been on the street. Like the attitudes towards people who are unhoused, there's sometimes this strange kind of stigma that somehow they were always there, or they were always gonna be there. No one assumes that, oh yeah, you were wealthy or you were a homeowner, you came from an affluent family, but then you're on the street. I think people have a hard time connecting the dots, how you
So,
can even end up there. And
This is something I think about, is that people can look at it in judgment, but you're lying on the sidewalk, shaking, cold, maybe covered over because you're trying to get another puff or whatever. You're dirty. Your life is just a nightmare. And nobody chooses that. Nobody chooses that. That's because they're not thinking rationally. Like, nobody's thinking rationally when you're living in that environment. And you can't change that thinking while you're still in that environment because you're just having to survive through it, right?
Right.
Did that make sense at all?
That makes total sense. So how do you change that thinking and what needs to happen?
Yeah, because I think that phrase, "but for the grace of God go I," or that notion that any of us are, I mean, the average Canadian is only 2 weeks of unemployment away from bankruptcy.
Me?
Right? And so it's
like I'm stable now, but I'm not.
Right. The notion of people being unhoused or being vulnerable is actually far closer than people realize. Yep. It's a much more achievable is the wrong word, but like it's for some people it's a possibility, you know?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Did you sometimes find yourself sitting there going, how did I end up here? Or did you was it a series of decisions that you kind of knew were ultimately ending up that way? Or
no, that was not the plan.
No, obviously.
No, it wasn't the plan. But it was easy. I could see because it was a 3-year progression from my dad's death till homelessness and addiction and being on my own on the street. And it was just decision after decision after decision, loss, till I had to take my cats to the SPCA and my car got towed. And I mean, it was just one thing after another till there I was. So it was easy to see the progression. However, it wasn't my plan.
Right.
Definitely.
So I think it will be great for us to kind of chart the rest of your story in a minute. But I do have a quick question in the middle of that, which is, are there some common threads, like in all of those circumstances, in those different types of lifestyle that you encountered? Have there been some common threads? Have there been moments of generosity, acts of kindness on the parts of others, or things about yourself that you've been able to hold on to all the way throughout that journey?
Okay, a couple things. Surprisingly enough, I found my self-worth when I was on the street.
Okay.
Because finally I had nothing else to hide behind. And God literally said that to me. You have nothing left to hide behind and you're still worthy. And so I started healing while I was in addiction on the street. And getting to know the people that were out there with me and recognizing that, wow, they have feelings, they laugh, they cry, they have kids, they have parents. Like, I don't know what. I think I used to think that a homeless person really doesn't exist as a person anymore, but they do. They're just, we're all the same.
See, that's a reversal. This is what we're talking about. The idea that you could find self-worth on the street.
Yeah.
That's a mind-blowing
Well,
concept.
and I was picking bottles. Like I didn't know how I was going to support myself.
Yeah.
And it was like I was either going to have to steal or prostitute or sell drugs. And none of those were going to work for me. So I started digging in garbages and picking bottles. And I'd be going down through the city park and I'd be digging in the garbage. I'd look up and I'd smile and wave at people. And sometimes they'd be so angry when they see me, but by the time they're walking by me, they'd actually have a smile on their face. And because I'd smile at them, hey, how you doing? And I'd have conversations. Every day I'd get into one long conversation with someone that never would have taken the time before. So it was very, very empowering period of time.
That's crazy.
That is.
But it was also so violent and tragic. Like it's not an easy, like it's for every time I felt good about myself, you're like on the ground in tears, just ready to.
Yeah, we're not trying to glamorize that life,
it's
of course.
no.
But I think there are some unexpected twists and turns. Like this is the idea of this conversation, is to say sometimes our preconceived notions, when we hear stories like yours, get flipped on their head.
Yeah.
Did you grow up in a home of hospitality? Was that a career that you had? Or is it just an innate thing that was part of who you are?
I worked hospitality for 20 years in my alcoholism years.
Yeah.
And, but I grew to really not like it. And then when I was working at Metro, when I started volunteering at Metro, and being able to cook for people with really, really nutritious food, and knowing that they needed it, but it's my happy place. It's my happy place to be cooking mass home comfort foods and serving it. Yeah.
Making the world a better place, one spoonful at a time.
I guess so. I know how they feel, and I know what it's like to feel like no one loves you or cares, and it just, they need to be reminded that.
Why?
Why? Because
I mean,
because I'm alone, and they're more alone.
so you had a career in hospitality for over 20 years. You ran Metro Central and the whole food and volunteers and all that kind of stuff. And then you transitioned out of that and started
Gospel Mission Outreach.
Oh, that's right. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
6 a.m.
Yeah,
things we used to do.
yeah.
Yeah. But now you're not doing that. Now you are doing
I'm doing private care.
Private care
for a
for
couple elderly people. Yes.
okay.
Yes.
And what is that like for you?
It's very cool. But this gal is 98 years old, and she wants to be at home, and I get to cook for her and be her friend, and we watch movies, and she's full of life and excited. We took her in her pool spa, or her swim spa out back yesterday in the sun, and puts a life jacket on and kicks her feet, and anyways, but it's just a treasure. She's a vegetarian, and she has a great appetite, so I cook up all these nice vegetarian meals for her, and it feels like a real redemption for me, because I don't have a parent to take care of. In my sobriety, first time, I lost all my color. And I wasn't happy in my sobriety. I was
What
feeling.
do you mean you lost your color?
I was wearing beige.
Okay.
Literally, I was wearing beiges. I didn't have my colorful clothes anymore, and
Your rose-tinted glasses.
my rose-tinted glasses, and my matchy, and and that was another thing that I found too, was the freedom to find my color again. I guess because I started feeling better about myself, I suppose. That was kind of where I started realizing that there was a person inside that I didn't know.
Wow.
Right,
Great.
right.
Yeah.
So talk to us a bit about your tattoos, because they are very colorful, and they're up and down your arms. You have stories in each of them. Like, I'm not asking you to go through each one, but like, what does it mean to have such colorful tattoos and stuff?
My favorite color is the rainbow, and plus I'm creative, and you can't finish something you can't stop something till it's finished. And so I started it until I finished it.
So you're a work in progress, or is it finished now? Are you done with all your tattoos?
Well, not necessarily, but I'm done with this segment.
Right.
This part of my arm, everything is significant, but this is my battle. This is my fight. This is everything that I had to fight to get down to here, which is my peace. Like, I've got my olive branches and James 1:4 and my seashells from walking the beach. And Robyn is got a worm, and she's in flight, and she's singing.
I love
So
it.
this is my peace.
I'm glad that you brought up the fact that you, when you asked about the thread, because my first thought was something that I've seen in the 18 years is your creativity. So I'm glad that you brought that forward. And you've used that not only in your own personal expression, but also to bring hope to other people in your creativity. And I think one of the ways of creativity is your whole background of hospitality, We talked a little bit about that, but I would love for you to unpack that a little bit more, because that is another thread that I've observed in your life.
I have a servant's heart, and I'm not one to sit and give advice or listen to your whole heavy story. I'm not prepared to do those things. I can't take that on, but I can love you and welcome you and hug you and give you a clean pair of socks and something to eat, and then give you to Sandy so she can listen, or give it to Lori. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those are the things that I can do. And
So it's a very practical, pragmatic expression.
it is. It's what
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with, and people are comfortable with me. So it's my thing. It's me. It's my heart.
Well, it's a beautiful heart. Yeah.
When did you first discover that? Was there like a moment where like you suddenly realized, oh, this is how I function. This is what feeds my soul, my heart.
I think it was really at Metro when we had.
Explain to people
What's Metro?
Oh, okay.
Because assume nobody
Or what it
knows.
was.
Okay. Metro Community Church was a church I was attending and involved with, and we had a drop-in center through the week where we had a coffee shop, we had a music room, we had a clothing room, we had a ladies' side where they could hang out and have showers and just have a safe space to be. We had an art room. We had a nice little patio area. We'd have barbecues. And anyways, I decided that we needed to raise money to serve lunches. And so we started raising money to make lunches twice a week for as many people as we could feed. And it reignited my love for hospitality when I had just, in the business world of hospitality, I had really lost any interest in doing that anymore. But it brought my love of hospitality back, and wanting to serve people that really need it and need healthy food, and just makes my heart sing.
I think, Robyn, one of the things that we observed over the years when we were in community with you was that hospitality, the gift of hospitality, your passion for it, feeding people, was actually a way of helping people find healing and belonging and hope in the context of community. And you were known for not just spearheading like our daily lunches and stuff like that in our drop-in center, but also, you know, we had bigger events. We had, you know, roast beef dinners, things like that, which were your brainchild. So can you kind of remind us about where did that come from? And what was in your heart? What spurred you to want to do those things? And did you realize even at the time that it was helping people find healing? Maybe it was helping you find some healing.
Yeah, I think initially it was certainly helping me find healing, because I was able to use some of the skills I actually had in hospitality. So
Yeah.
I was able to feel empowered by that I did have some transferable skills.
Right.
So that was really important for me. And I was really good at it. Like everybody knew,
Yeah, you were.
everybody knew if I had my clipboard with me that I was going to be chasing them down for either food or volunteering or whatever. And yeah, it was awesome. And then when we did the roast beef dinners, the Gospel Mission provided the meals, and Metro, our church, served the meal. And we invited all the people that we could get there from the street and brought them in. And we even had a couple years where there was dancing afterwards. And oh my gosh, it was so much fun.
And they were sizable events. Like how
300.
many?
300.
Yeah,
so
we had
it's
300 plus at the packing house.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you organized the food, the servers,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Well, the last word is yours every time.
I think you also mentioned earlier, off mic, you talked about dignity. How when you saw people, when you were on the street and you saw that they had families and people, they had lives and interests and all that kind of stuff. And then you transferred that over to what you just did this past Christmas. Tell that story.
Christmas is not an easy time for me, and I always have a bit of an emotional meltdown. And this year, I really looked at what was important, and it's not about the gifts and the money and the decorations. It's more about the people, and that there's people more alone than I am. And so I gathered a few friends and took all their turkey carcasses and leftovers and extra cash that they had, and we made enough stew for about turkey stew, really thick, delicious turkey stew, lots and lots of turkey in it. We made about 80 servings and took them down to Tent City.
Do you remember any specific acts of kindness?
Yeah. I was in City Park one night after hours, and I was collecting bottles, and there was a lady at the hotel across the street. She came down. It was like 3:00 in the morning. She came down from her room and told me that she had seen me picking bottles and thought I was very hardworking, and so she gave me $20
At 3 in the morning.
at 3 a.m. And that was just after I'd found out I was pregnant.
Oh my.
So I told her I was having a baby and that I was going to take that $20 towards the baby. And I don't know what happened to the $20, but it was a pretty special moment. And then there was another time where I had been sleeping on a little side patch of grass along Abbott, and a guy and a lady pull up in a car, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, they're going to start yelling at me and chase me off and stuff. And they call me over to the car, and she's just like, I only have $20, and I've got some lipstick, and I've got this. That's all I've got for you, but can I give this to you? And then there was another time where this young kid, I would wander the beaches in the mornings in the summertime because sometimes there'd be stuff to be found. This young kid, maybe like 15 or 16, saw me scavenging or whatever on the beach, and he came over and gave me all the change in his pocket and his cigarettes. And it was like just different random people, and that you wouldn't expect, like a young teenage kid to have that kindness in his heart. Really meant a lot to me. Yeah. I was sitting outside on the sidewalk in front of the gospel mission one day too, and this lady walked up to me, and I knew she wasn't from our community. So I was like, what the heck does she want? Because we're scared of you guys. We're more scared of you guys than seeing our own other fellow homeless people.
Why is that?
Because we didn't make it in society.
So you're talking about a power dynamic?
Yeah, I wasn't good enough in this world. So, but I could survive in this one, and so that's where I was going to stay, because that's where I could survive.
That was the pervasive thought.
Yeah.
And you were somebody.
I wasn't really somebody, but everybody liked me. Like nobody, if somebody wanted to beat me up, there was two others ready to stand up for me. So, but I wasn't anybody, like I didn't have a name or didn't have a role or anything like that. If anything, Virgil, he called me the cream puff.
Is that because of your hair?
No, it was because I went into a grocery store and picked up a package of 2 cream puffs. I ate one, put the package down, walked out, and got arrested. And charged
your street name?
With theft under $5,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cream puffs.
For a cream puff.
You know, you went on to have Lily, and you became a mother. We kind of paused the story when you were going through recovery and then had Lily. So you kind of, you found belonging in community, you found a way to serve, you found a way to touch people's hearts. But where do we find you today? And what does life look like now? Because you are now, I'm going to spoil the surprise, but you're a homeowner. You own your own home. You have a job. You've traveled to Europe. You have a grown daughter who's out there in the world doing wonderful things. So bring us up to speed with your life today.
Well, I actually have a wish list and things that I want to do when I grow up. I never, ever had that. Like even as a young girl, I was never thinking about the wedding or the family or the career. It was always just moment-to-moment survival. So it's really kind of fun because my daughter's 20 and I'm kind of there as well, not maybe physically, but mentally. So yeah, it's, I'm excited. Like, other than when my daughter was little, this is the best period of my life. But at the same time, I got no security.
So you have a home, but you don't feel secure.
Not at all.
Can you explain that?
Well, being a paycheck away from bankruptcy or homelessness, I'm well aware how close that is all the time. Mm-hmm. So my only security is staying in today, bottom line. Because, like, seriously, if I get sick again, like I was, if something that's going on right now falls sideways, I don't have a cushion. So
It's
security,
a tenuous existence.
It really is. And so I live in today.
Is there a part of your life you would choose to do over, or?
There's so many things that I would do differently, like so many things, like especially my relationship with my dad. Like, I wish that he was here now so that we could have decent conversations and that he could see I'm okay. If I had a chance to talk to my younger self right now,
yeah,
I would say that you are perfect and that there's nothing wrong with you, and that things have happened and it's not your fault.
So when you say perfect, you don't mean like without fault or anything. You just mean like you're enough, like who you are is great.
Exactly.
Acceptance of self.
Exactly.
Of your identity.
Yeah. You are who you are, and it's beautiful, no matter what.
Yeah.
And so if I was asked the same question to talk to someone in addiction, I would say the same thing. Like, of course, I'll always say never give up. But I would also say it's not your fault. Things have happened. This is what you've learned. Maybe we're responsible for a whole lot of stuff that we've done, but we follow what we know. We do what we learn. It becomes our uncomfortable comfort zone, and it may not look very good to anybody else, but it's what we know at the time. And unless we're shown differently, we're never going to do differently.
Mm-hmm. Do you like you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's the big win of the day.
I like my company. I like my style. I like my sense of humor. Yeah, I'm all right.
So, Robyn, I'm just wondering if somebody's watching, somebody's listening, and what would you want to impart to them? What would you want them to know about, say they're driving down a street or whatever, and they see somebody who's unhoused or somebody who's behaving erratically or something. Is there a challenge? Is there just a thought you want to impart to them? You have such direct lived experience, and we value that. We want to learn from that.
I guess just asking questions instead of making judgments. Like, you're a loser for being here. What happened?
Be curious.
Be curious. Ask somebody what happened.
Instead of condemning.
Yeah, because nobody chooses that unless there's some other pretty awful choices or the thinking isn't clear, or both, right? So yeah, ask questions. Don't stop judging and ask questions. And if you think something nice, say something nice. Do something nice. Don't just think and then carry on. Do it.
How do you build community as a young mom that's unhoused or struggling? Like, you have always been able to build a community around you and bring people into your world, which a lot of people struggle to do. How have you been able to do that your entire life, but especially as a mom? I mean, and it hasn't been an easy ride as a mom.
It's a really conscious, ongoing effort. Like it's just like fighting for resources or something like that. It's something that you have to fight for.
So is that a transferable skill from addiction?
Maybe.
We like transferable skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So somebody's watching today and say, or listening, and they're just struggling. They're they're despairing. They're caught in a cycle. I don't know what it might be. We may have a A lot of listeners, we may have none, who knows? But, is there something that you would, as we kind of bring this to a close, is there something you would want to share with them? Some life lesson you learned, and you've got lots of life yet to live, but it's like, is there something that you would want to share with them?
Or a myth you want to bust?
Or a myth you want to bust?
Let go of the judgment and ask questions. Like, approach with a blank slate.
But some people are afraid. People are afraid of people on the street.
We're just as afraid of you.
Right? People...
The time I felt the most threatened on the street was a bunch of entitled teenagers had me cornered in a beach access. We can't do it by ourselves. Like, we have to reach out, but we got to find the right people to reach out to. I know that for myself, the more I was questioned, the more I was criticized, the more I was ostracized and put down, the farther I ran. The more I gave up, and the less I was willing to try at anything.
By whom?
By whoever I surrounded myself with in my life. And it's taken me into my 50s and 60s to realize that it's not a cop-out to keep people in your life that encourage you and that see the best things in you and that don't give up on you and show you differently. Don't just tell you differently, show you differently. And maybe even show you that this is different. Because for so many years, I didn't know I needed to see something different in order to be different.
You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, Robyn, thank you so much for taking the time, your story, even how you choose to live today in terms of just you find places of solitude, you build community, we have been pulled into your community willingly, I should add. We've been pulled into the circle of community that you've built for yourself.
Yeah.
And it's an honor. It's a privilege for me. I can only speak for me, but it's a privilege for me to know that I'm trusted by you and that I have the opportunity to be part of your community. And we don't always see a lot of each other, but when we do, we've been through so much life together that I feel like
we don't have to see each other all the time.
Right.
No.
Goodness, no.
No.
I know you
God.
would not.
Again.
But hey, like when we do, there is so much depth in terms of what we've journeyed through. So I just wanted to say thank you because I consider it a privilege to be allowed and to be trusted to be part of your community. And thank you for coming and being part of our Reversal podcast.
Okay. Well, hopefully you can pull something intelligent out of it.
Well, I think there's a lot of wisdom, and you still don't give yourself enough credit.
Yeah.
So thank you for being my friend and for showing up today.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right.
So that was really interesting. I've known Robyn for 18 years.
Right.
And there are still pieces that I hear, but there's also some very consistent threads through her life that I am in awe of how she has navigated like the whole realm of, like with trauma actually changes your DNA. Trauma changes your actual physical brain system, right? So to fight back and come, like, you're not even starting at the starting line. You're starting behind the starting line with so many when you have childhood trauma. So for her to, just the whole story of her birth mom and then her adopted mom and all that surrounds it, and then her stepmom. I mean, that's a big mother wound. And I mean, the mother wound is a trendy concept, but man, it's prevalent. And yet she's been able to reverse a lot of that. Hasn't been perfect by any means.
Sure.
It's been a tough journey as a mother, but she has broken the cycle on a lot of that brokenness of motherhood and just been an amazing, courageous woman who has embraced motherhood, not in the way we always think of it, but in the healthiest way that she can.
And I'm struck by the perseverance, to be introduced to alcohol and drugs at such a young age and in key developmental years when, it really, your brain is growing and forming and to have, and to be introduced to that lifestyle and the socializing aspect of it, and to have gone, Robyn has lived through so many different circumstances in her life, and to have her outlook and her positivity and her generosity and the willingness to just love people where they're at and to offer them grace and to even extend herself so that she acts as an advocate and a model for others who, as to how to approach people who are vulnerable. And yeah, I think, she undersells herself. I mean, she is her ability to put people at their ease and to charm them and to love on them from all walks of life is pretty unique, I think. Mm-hmm. So what did you learn? What's your takeaway today from hanging out with her? Because like you said, you've probably picked up a couple of things for the first time that maybe you hadn't heard before.
I think I am of that thinking, if I'm being completely transparent, that I will not give somebody cash. Mm-hmm. I will give them some food or I'll buy them a drink or something like that, but I don't do cash.
Sure.
I have never heard it presented in the way like Robyn presented it, in that, you know what, especially for women, I think women are that much more vulnerable on the street, that by providing some cash is actually providing a little bit of dignity and protection, that they may not have to compromise themselves to get the money in another way.
Right.
I never thought of it that way.
Right.
And so I'm like, yeah, I guess I should start carrying some cash.
Well, and I think for me, I was struck again by, how Robyn thinks through, her own self-care, her own, mm-hmm. She has so much space for, just, being at peace, finding places of solitude. And yes, of course, she's dealt with some significant trauma, but I think it's a lesson that we can all learn. Mm-hmm. We fill our lives with such busyness and we often operate out of scarcity. And I think one of the things I admire about Robyn so much, and again have been struck by it today, is how she has purposely created a place from which to then go out into the world and live out from.
A place of abundance.
Yeah, she's created abundance out of what we would assume has been scarcity.
Even though she's that close to bankruptcy and being homeless again.
Sure. There is a tenuousness to that. Yeah. And that may never change for the rest of her life.
But that's the materialism. That's the materialistic approach to scarcity and abundance. And she has an abundance of spirit and relationship. And as we've so often said, the poverty isn't the materialism necessarily in our culture. It's the poverty of relationship. And Robyn is very rich in relationships.
Yeah, and it's evidenced just by the scope and scale of the community she's created over the years and put around herself. And
it is a transferable skill.
It is, and it's one that she continues to. Yeah, she talked about it today, but she continues to demonstrate it. Is that she's an equal opportunities employer mm-hmm. of community. She has people from all walks of life in that community, and off air, she was talking about a mutual friend of ours who's lost a pet and how she's going to reach out to them because she realizes how significant that loss is. And so, what an honor, what a privilege it was to hang out with her today.
It was great. Thanks, Lori.
Yeah, thank you.
Story's yours to tell.